Kia ora Tefano, hope you guys are well rested. Let's get into the chat about this new block, I guess.
It's dope.
The main thing with the new block is that there's just going to be a little bit more emphasis in a couple different areas, with one of the main emphasis going to be strength. We will do a quick run over. I always forget that I'm holding this. Give you an idea of the week structure. It's not really changing too much, but there will just be different emphasis from mobility being our main thought process when we come to train, to more to do with strength, but essentially it's the same stuff. In the next block, we're going to be doing 8 to 9 week block where we'll be cycling through this 8x5 program again. So we've got the 3 weeks of 8x5, another 3 weeks of 10x4, and then another 3 weeks of 12x3. And essentially it's kind of around that 40 rep mark that we're doing heavy sets, low rest, and just trying to expose you to, I guess, a lot heavier weight. And now that we've done that mobility block, or at least gone through a block where we've focused more on our mobility and improving our movements, we can utilize all that as a nice transfer into some of this. I still want to keep a lot of the tempo stuff, maybe not purposefully, but almost just as something you think about when you do train. And having done that stuff first and then transitioning into this is like an awesome segue for you to make sure that you utilize a lot of the things that we were doing. That's the tempo, that's the pauses, that's the mobility, that's the range of motion improvements, and just, I guess, a more rounded view when it comes to the way that you move when you train, rather than just the weight lifted. And we will put emphasis on the weight we're going to lift, so doing a lot of percentage based things, but I still want you to keep it in the back of your mind that it's how you move that's way more important than what you lift. They go hand in hand. not to contradict myself, but anyways, so weeks 1 to 3 we're going to be hitting what's called 8x5, and we're going to start pretty light, but as you would have known if you've done 8x5 and 10x4 and 12x3 in the past, that stuff creeps up on you. I do them in an EMOM style. I've done them in 45-second style before, which we'll probably do at some point. I would like to try do that in week 3, but I will let you guys kind of get used to it at the start. But just a little bit longer rest periods, as you will know. I still want to kind of keep around that 2 to 3 second tempo, especially with our eccentric movement, which is whenever you move weight back towards the ground, that's eccentric loading. I would like to keep that at around 2 to 3 seconds, because I just think it's important in terms of control, and it also helps to improve your mobility if you take your time getting there and maximize the control in your posture, in your stability, and obviously in the movement as well. So we will try and put emphasis on that too. For accessory work, we're just going to keep it really simple, and we're just going to have slow progressions over those 3 week periods. So I just want to keep accessories, which is like your step ups, your single arm pressing, rowing, pull ups, all of those kind of movements that we do after the main lift. I still want to keep those very basic, and we will progress them every 3 weeks. So they will progress at the same rate that our rep regime changes too. The structure of the week. So I am creating a 7-day week for training, which should work. It just depends where you've started, where you want to maximize intensity. So some days harder than others. And just your awareness around the training that you're doing. It's like a 7-day training block, but you should be okay as we go through it, as long as you choose the right intensities. On a Sunday, we're going to be running that 8 a.m. block, which will be anything that you want to do on that, basically, as long as you're choosing things that are contrast to the days around the Sunday, so Saturday and Friday, you should be okay. So we're going to be doing, I will be suggesting some things you can do, and then obviously we're going to have Warrior running pretty soon as well, and they're going to be utilizing that Sunday session too. I'll talk a little bit more on that, but it's not going to be too difficult to achieve. On Monday, we're looking at lower body squatting, so more of like that push movement, and then we're also going to be doing an upper body push as well on the Monday. That's going to be medium weight for the upper body push. On the Tuesday, we're going to stay with our ollie work, but it's going to be the light ollie work. I'm still going to provide the beginner, intermediate, advanced, and I'll probably start moving into a few different variations and progressions to what we have been doing. But because I put beginner in there, should be all good for anyone to go through it. So even if you bring mates that are new to it, they should be able to catch on pretty well. We're just going to keep practicing those foundations and making sure that we've set ourselves up for a really strong base as we move closer to our next testing. You'll be doing that light ollie work and an upper body pull plus accessories. So as you know, at the moment we've got ollie work on a Tuesday, then we just pretty much do upper body, but we'll be doing more upper back rather than the pushing movements on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, this is going to flip and change heaps. Flip and change, not flipping. We're going to be doing a bit of cardio work, skill work for about 20, and then I want to do a few different variations on the finishes. So we're just going to play around with that one. I'm going to take you to the dark places a few times throughout. I think for me, I really like to try and do like a really, really, really hard session, maybe once a month. Like one where you question yourself, what am I doing here? What's the answer to life?
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
All of that type of stuff. Yeah, so once a month, I think that's like a really good way to do it. Not too often, because essentially you shouldn't really be able to do them that often. Maybe like once a week or once a fortnight, but it should be very taxing. So we're going to play off this one a bit. I really want to work on the skill aspect of running and rowing and bike, and I think people have been enjoying the session. Let me know if you have been enjoying it, because it does influence my decisions around like how I create those sessions. But I do think it provides unnecessary contrast to the other types of training that we do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that's why I kind of prefer to do more machine-based stuff and just let your body rest away from all the movement, heavy loading movement-based stuff. I mean, of course you could do metcons and like low intensity movements, but it is so difficult to come to that class on a Wednesday and keep your intensity low. So it's almost like a little bit safer to just utilize machines and a little bit of running as a contrast to those other days. And everyone's been doing really well with that. It's week 4 now of that mobility block, and it's been pretty cool to see people push themselves and still getting good numbers to those classes. So I must be doing something right. But I would still love to keep working on the skills and try and provide you guys with a bit of an intensity bash through that every now and then as well. So Wednesday will pretty much be similar. We will experience different areas of, I guess, trying different energy systems or trying to think about different energy systems when we train on the Wednesday. So going through like the alactic system, your energy system 1, your energy system 2, which is more like lactic, and then even the aerobic stuff as well, which we've been doing a bit of, and just kind of having a clear understanding of which one is when and how long they last, and what essentially is happening in your body when you train a specific way, when you manipulate the intensity in different ways. But yeah, interesting stuff. Be pretty cool to kind of talk over. We're also going to be doing Thursday lower. We're going to kind of do more of a light hinge movement. So it will be light, but there might be like about a medium to like kind of like a wave like period with the block training for the intensity. So I'm going to play around with the volume and intensity on those Thursdays. I'm going to lean more towards hinge movements. So you've got your like deadlift, your RDLs, your good mornings, your hip thrusts, your glute bridges, your single movements on those things as well. And then yeah, they're just a good they're a good movement to include into your training program to help you build your posterior chain, because it's just involved in so many things that we do. But I want to keep it light, and the reasoning for that is because we're also going to be doing heavy ollie work the day after. So we're trying to contrast things a little bit and keep everything in as much control as we can when we're doing it. So in the start of the session, more like a lower light hinge based pattern. Excellent carryover to your ollie lifting, amazing carryover to pretty much every heavy lift that you do. So definitely one you don't want to miss. And then the latter side of the training session will be upper body push heavy. All right, so that's going to be your bench pressing, your overhead from time to time. It really depends what I program for Friday, because if I do jerk on a Friday, then I probably won't want to give you too much heavy push overhead for the Thursday. But sometimes I like to do those little double days where you do overhead heavy and then boom, it's there again in a different variation. Anyways, that's your Thursdays. Then on Friday we're going to heavy ollie work. Obviously it's not going to start off at maximal percentages. We will start a little lighter, but the intention is to try and move a bit of weight on that day. I'm going to have to make another video about ollie work and the different movements and how to make them heavier, how to move the bar a bit better. And I guess there's a few people to look out for in the classes, so I'll try to note them when I'm in those classes, just so that you can kind of have someone as a point of reference to look at, especially as the weights start to increase on their bar. Because you can start to see how useful it is when you get the sequencing right and how useful it is when you get the technique right, which is really important. So things to think about there. And then we're going to be doing upper body pull plus accessories in the latter session of the Friday, with a bit of a mix up with core and that here and there too. On the Saturday, I'm looking at high intensity cardio work. So really high intensity. I'm going to probably cut back the volume a little bit. So maybe larger groups. And then just like more simple workouts with your focus on the intensity being high when you do the session. So not really difficult to do. We'll try to keep the groups a bit bigger, and then obviously we're going to mix it up with teamwork on machines, teamwork for metcons, all that type of stuff. But I really want you to think about how your whole week looks. And if you're doing 3 sessions, maybe you go harder on a Saturday. If you're doing 6 sessions, maybe you go lighter on a Saturday. But remember, this thing works as a whole. So you've got to look at your total weekly volume in terms of what intensities you use each day. If you're doing more sessions, you're going to have to make sure you manage your intensity very well so that you can continue to do heaps of sessions. If you're doing less sessions, same thing. You got to manage your intensity to be a bit higher than everyone else that's doing more sessions throughout the week, because your frequency is lower. So that kind of helps you find that fine line on where to train so you actually get benefit from the training. But intensity management is going to be really important here. Now in the warm-ups, we've kind of changed the warm-ups a little bit. What I want to do is I want to have warm-ups for those 3-week blocks that I talked about. So you've got your 8-5s, your 10-4s, your 12-3s. We're going to be adding in a lot of very, very basic core movements pretty much every day. And it's that same idea of frequency of the movement. If you're doing the movement every single day whilst managing your intensity, you're going to find that you're much better at the movement. You're much better at engaging, feeling where you're supposed to feel it, and all of those things. So that's why we want to try and hit core a lot more. Getting the core really strong to help support that lower back is going to be really imperative as we go through this next part of the program, because there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting, but that's another area of just managing intensity. So a lot of core work over the entire week. We're going to be trying to utilize simple movements for maintaining our built-up mobility and just trying to get into those difficult positions using tempo and pausing. And then also we will probably utilize a bit of ISO, so that's your contracting whilst not moving. Okay, so opposite to your dynamic movements where you contract. These ones are like wall sits and planks, things like that. And then just focusing on the hip and shoulder, trying to build up the tissue strength around those areas to obviously contribute towards our heavier lifts and our movement patterns as well. all in all, everything's pretty much going to be very similar to what you have been doing, with a couple of tweaks on your rep regimes, and obviously your focus is going to switch to more trying to build your strength over the next few weeks. So that's what the program looks like from now until the deload, until testing, and then Limitless Games at the end of that. So we have this next program, which starts next week. We also have Limitless Games 3. Holy guacamole. So Limitless Games 3 is at the moment on the 19th of August. I don't think we're going to change this again. Hopefully you guys can make it. The next one's going to be at the gym at the moment. So I still need to check in with Rohan, but it should be sweet. We've also got Warrior number 3. Let's go. I'm really excited about Warrior 3. There's a couple different things that I'm going to be doing in this one as well. It's really crazy to see how far these things have actually come, because I guess when I first thought of them, I was just thinking like, oh, that'd be cool to do, and now they're starting to get to like the third version of it, and yeah, I feel like that's really cool. So looking for 20 people to be a part of this one. Basically how it's going to work is I'm going to have set amounts of people per testing group. So if you are interested in doing it, there's 10 spots to do the yo-yo, there's 10 spots to do the assault bike max calorie test, only 6 spots for that, and there's 6 spots for the 2K row or ski, and obviously they're limited by the amount of machines that we have currently. So we've got those spots available, which, oh, my maths is terrible, that's actually 22 spots.
What's 9 plus 10?
Yeah, so basically what my goal is for this one is that you're going to test specific and then train specific for that thing. So you'll have different days as well. So we're going Wednesday, Friday, and then a non-compulsory Sunday in the gym. So you don't have to come to the gym for the Sunday one, but you do have to train. So that's the hour-and-a-half session on the Sunday. Wednesday will be a half-hour session where we're just practicing the main thing that we are tested, what we've tested for. So if you tested for running, you'll be doing stuff for the running. If you tested for bike or roll ski, you test for those things. And Friday will be more of a team thing before your other sessions. So yeah, just a couple extra trainings every week, and it's only 5 weeks, and I think that's the beauty of it as well, is knowing that there's a close end in sight, and you just have to stick to it real well for that 5-week period of time. I've currently got 4 people, but they haven't locked in which spot they're going to go into yet. So if you are interested in that, then you need to let me know ASAP, because I feel like it's going to fill up fast. So 22 spots, sorry, 22.
21.
Maths, terrible. The only other things are the deload week, which is the 31st of June to the 4th of August, and then the testing week, which is the 7th to the 12th of August. That's the week before Limitless Games, I think. Yeah, something like that. You can have a look on the calendar. But yeah, also, if you haven't checked it today yet, it should still be up there. We just did a merch giveaway, which should be available on the story. It is the 31st of May today, so if you're watching this at a later date, I'm sorry, but it's probably been taken down. And it was only for our members as well, so if you have a look at the story and you're like, I can't see it, it's because you're not a member, sorry, and you're not on my close friends list. If you are watching this and you are on time within the 31st to, it'll probably last till sometime tomorrow, maybe till the 4 p.m. tomorrow. You can go into the draw if you go onto the Instagram story, check your close friends. If you're a member and you're not on the close friends, quickly message me and I'll add you to it. Otherwise, you just go on there, you click yes to the poll, and then I'll add you into the competition that's going to be drawn next Monday, the start of our new strength block, just to keep you warm in the winter. It's an XL hoodie, so should fit most people. But you know, maybe we might do another one if you need a bigger one, or if you want a smaller one as well, and maybe put your requests through so I know exactly what I'm supposed to be buying. But yeah, so there's that, and then I am thinking of doing a row and ski seminar as well. Please send me a message if you're keen for this. Row and ski seminar is to run over the fundamentals of how to row, how to ski, what the screen means, how to set it up, what you're supposed to be doing when you're rowing or skiing for different efforts, longer versus shorter versus medium. There's so many different aspects to those machines, so it's really good to know. Let me know if you are interested in those, because I might do it after this block, or maybe I'll do it during this block, depending on people's time and, you know, depending on when we can get into the gym, etc. But I am really keen to do one of those because they are very helpful. The more you know how to do something properly, the easier that thing is. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for following along. Thank you so much for watching, contributing, being a supporter of TCT. If you have watched this far into the video and you've watched one before, you know what to do. Chuck a young sword down in the comments below. Love the mahi, love the tautoko. Let's get it.